Good morning, everybody, and wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Winnie. Welcome you today, everybody, to the conference of today's technical session 2. We have all our speakers and discussants here today. It's our pleasure to have every one of you. So we will live this session in 2 minutes time. It will be live in all the Facebook streaming in 2 minutes, and that's the time that I will start the session opening welcome. So please give us a while. Thank you very much.
No, sorry, 비계숨 같이 구구한다. 몇 개다 갈만. 갈만 캠하면 도 네, 레곤
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to today's technical session. It's our pleasure on behalf of Tibetan Buddhist Center, Singapore and Malaysia, and all the joint organizing committee members from 12 various organizations to welcome the speakers, discussant, and the chairperson of today. It's our pleasure to have all of you yesterday at our inaugural session, Vinaya session, and also the public session in the yesterday afternoon. So it's a very good experience for us today. I hope that the next few technical sessions today will be enriching for everybody who have joined us. With that, I will hand over to Brother Tan, the facilitator of today's session, also one of our organizers to facilitate this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Winnie. Suki Hotu, venerable members of the Mahasangha, distinguished guests and speakers, my brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. That was Sister Winnie, the chairperson of this International Buddhist Conference, who has worked very hard. And together today, together with the technical team, who is always behind the scene, they have brought us all together. They brought us all together for session 2 of the International Buddhist Conference. The idea was for us to get together, with all Buddhists from the different traditions, the 3 different traditions, to get together today to talk about Tisikkha or Trishiksha, the 3 trainings in English. So we will share our views from the different traditions on these 3 trainings. Yesterday we had the first session where they discussed on sila, that's morality. The 3 traditions gave their input to discuss on sila. And I think what little I've heard or what little I understand is the 3 traditions agree that sila is the fundamental of samadhi. It's the integral part of samadhi. It cannot be separated. So today, we have got our distinguished speakers today to share with us on samadhi from the 3 various traditions. The chairperson today is Venerable Dr. Dhammapala. Venerable Dhammapala is from Malaysia. He was ordained as a bhikkhu in 1994. He spent 20 years studying Buddhist philosophy, Pali and Sanskrit literatures in Sri Lanka and Hong Kong. In 2009, he obtained his doctorate of philosophy in Buddhist studies in the University of Hong Kong. After his graduation, He was appointed as chief editor and spiritual director for the Buddhist Door website, which is one of the oldest and largest Buddhist websites in the world. In 2010 to 2013, he was the visiting assistant professor at the Center of Buddhist Studies. The University of Hong Kong. He traveled frequently conducting Dharma talks and conducting Pali and Sanskrit workshops in Malaysia, in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, and in China. He is the founder and abbot of Brahma Vihara Monastery in Malaysia, and also the founder and abbot of the Bodhivana Monastery in Malaysia. He's also the abbot of the Center of Mindfulness in Hong Kong. So we hand over the session to you, Venerable Dr. Dhammapala. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So thank you, Brother Tan. Namo Buddhaya, Tashidele. Good morning and good afternoon to all venerable members of the Sangha from various Buddhist traditions, respected teachers, speakers, scholars, distinguished guests, audience, and friends from around the globe. A very warm welcome to International Buddhist Conference on the three training of morality, concentration, and wisdom. This is the technical section 2 on the second theme called the training of concentration, Samadhi Tisikkha or Samadhi Trishiksha. So in the Sarvata Nikaya, the Buddha says, without reverence towards concentration, that will lead to the decay and disappearance of the true Dhamma, Saddhamma. So training on concentration, Samadhi, is very important in Buddhist practice. The mind that has been trained in concentration can remain focused on this object without distraction, and this mind, free from distraction, induce a serenity and calmness. So the concentrated mind is like a mirror, reflecting exactly as it is, whatever that placed before it. However, the Buddha compared the mind without training. It's like a fish taken out of the water, cannot stay fixed, but moving from idea to idea, from thought to thought without inner control. So such a distracted mind is a deluded mind. And this session will explore the training of concentration, how to train the mind to be concentrated and learn the skill to become a happy person in life. So I'm your chairperson and moderator for this technical session. And together with me, Brother Tan, who is a facilitator, a former president of Theravada Buddhist Council in Malaysia, co-organizer of this International Buddhist Conference, will co-chair this session together. And we are very honored today to have concentration gathering with distinguished speakers and scholars and serious practitioners from various traditions and with audience from around the globe. And there are 4 presentations and 3 reflections for this session on the training of concentration. And we have about 15 minutes and 10 minutes for presentation and reflection respectively. So without further ado, I would like to invite our first presenter, Venerable Professor März Vimalanyana Theru, to deliver the presentation entitled Material Object, the Potent Meditative Object to Cultivate Jhanic Concentration. And first of all, let me introduce the Venerable Professor März Vimalanyana. Venerable was born in 1977, Sri Lanka, and is currently the professor and head of Department of Buddhist Culture or the Postgraduate Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies of the University of Kelaniya. And he has served for the University of Peradeniya in Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka Bhikshu University in Anuradhapura, Sri Lanka. And he has published books and a number of research papers. So with deep respect, let us welcome Venerable Professor Miriswati Vimalachnyana. The floor is yours.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Bhante Dhammapala, thank you for the nice introduction to me. And thank you very much, organizers, for inviting me. I should also thank to Mr. Dhamendra Porge, who coordinated between me and the organizing committee. Today, I am going to talk about Samadhi, and this is related to the what the most effective and potent object of meditation for in order to produce jhana. This is actually is not discussed in the discourses, but it was discussed in the Theravada text, like commentaries, Visuddhimagga, so and so forth. So I would like to share my screen. I hope you can see it. So here you can see the actual topic of this presentation: material object, potent meditative object to cultivate jhanic concentration. So now basically I would like to tell you that in the Theravada tradition, Samadhi is a dharma, one dharma. So this is slightly different from its understanding of the Madhyamika and the later Mahayana text. For the Theravada traditions, actually dharma is something existing in the sense that it can be experienced. So if it is empirical, if it is possible to be experienced, that is a dharma. But they are not independent. They are independent. Samadhi at the beginning is what we call one-pointedness. So that is the basic dharma of samadhi. But this transforms into a higher level of concentration, and at that level we call it samadhi. And samadhi actually is very much synonymous with what we call jhana, because samadhi, this is the difference between mindfulness and samadhi, because mindfulness is sensuous and it can have some disturbances, but at the same time when you come to samadhi, it is very acute and uninterrupted. So in English we call it trances. So you can hear when the concentration is non-sensuous, so the experience of jhana or samadhi is a non-sensuous experience, acute and stable to exist uninterrupted for a particular period of time, it is called jhana. So that is the basic introduction. Now, if you look at samadhi, actually samadhi or jhana, as I introduced a little while ago, is not merely a transformation of mind from sensuous to non-sensuous. So it's actually a broader technical term, but it's a very difficult term to define. Even in the Pali text, samadhi is not very much defined. But if you look at Pali text, the text of Pali tradition closely, you can find some definitions or some description. You can give some descriptions about what samadhi is. So here I have given some 5 basic introductions to samadhi. So one is that it is as I said you earlier, it's a transformation of mind from sensuous to non-sensuous. That is why we call it rupa jhana. We are talking about rupa jhana and arupa jhana. It is not sensuous, but it belongs to the material world or non-material realm of meditation. And the other thing is the meditative experience derived from a particular object of meditation. It can be material or mental. You know that, for example, if you take metta, it is a mental object. It's a dharma. But if you take something like respiration or body, that is material. So it can be either material, the object can be either material or mental. A factor that experience beauty of the light of forms due to meditative objects. So in Pali, we have these 2 words, obhaso and dasanam. So actually the dhyana can produce a beautiful experience of different it can produce a beautiful image of the object of meditation itself, and it can create the light. So even in the lower level of meditation, even we can experience some light if you progress properly in the meditation. But sometimes it can mislead you. But if you properly sort of control over it, actually you progress. An acute cognitive factor that brings about higher level of direct knowledge. So in the suttas, in the discourses, you can see four jhanas, the four material jhanas, and the formless jhanas. Mostly the four material jhanas are introduced as the prerequisites for jnana dassana, that is knowing and seeing. So without some form of jhanic, samadhi, you cannot have direct experience or direct knowledge, what is called in Pali as yatha bhuta jnana dassana, knowing and seeing as they are, as the things they are, as the phenomena they are. The last thing is a cause of high level of bodily and mental ease, and piti and sukha are there, or basically the two elements of this bodily ease and that which you can experience in the jhanas. So when you from that we will come to these two forms of jhana. So I explained earlier also these two forms of jhana, form jhana and formless jhana. But the basic thing you have to understand is actually the form jhana doesn't mean that you don't have the object of meditation should be something material, but the idea is it can be because of the object of meditation is material, or you have the bodily sensation, so the feeling of body. The material, when you come to non-material, formless jhana, actually it means you don't, the object of meditation is not, is mental or is not material, and you don't have bodily experience. Okay, when we come here, the transition thing, this is very important. Actually, we have to know that this is a transformation of mind. In this actually this is happening only in the meditation. This is very important. Mindfulness can happen in the normal ordinary experience, but jhanic or the samadhi is something totally something happening in the yogic meditation. So there should be a transformation. The text describe how this transformation is taking place, and there's a big difference. There is much discussions about how the ordinary experience of the object of meditation changes within the meditation when you come from the jhanic, from the sensuous experience to non-sensuous. One example is even the respiration can be felt like a garland. So it's a beautiful experience, which is not the ordinary experience of respiration, but it's a beautiful experience of respiration, which is like a it's like a garland, something. I think this is a metaphor to give some idea of beauty about the experience of jhana. So now actually this is called the change of the nimitta. So the nimitta, there is a different kind of mental sign of the object of meditation when you come from the non-sensuous sensuous to non-sensuous. Now we have 40 in the traditional traditionally in the text we have 40 objects of meditation. Generally they can be categorized into three. They are the material objects, like for example respiration and kasina. Mental objects, like we have these thoughts in mind that we concentrate on chittanupassana, the thoughts of mind. And then concepts like charity and chaga or Buddha or divine beings, actually they are concepts, they are not actual things. So so these objects can be divided into these three: the material objects, mental objects, and concepts. So now there is this question, actually, what is the most potent, the most effective type of meditations which can produce or easily produce, or which can produce the highest level of samadhi. So this is actually was not, as I said earlier, was not discussed in the discourses, but later on the scholars and the medicants in the Buddhist tradition wanted to explain these things systematically and theoretically. So they brought about produced this discussion. So now in the Visuddhimagga and in the commentaries we have these descriptions. There are two meditations which can produce 4 material jhanas themselves. What are they? The respiration and kasina. You know what kasina means? We have respiration is anapanasati, the meditation on anapanasati. The kasinas are a type of earthen clay made circular slabs which are colored in blue, red, so and so forth. So only these two can produce 4 material jhanas themselves according to the text. The 10 types of foulness, that is the 10 stages of the decaying of the body, can produce only first form trance. It means the first jhana. And the first 3 divine abodes, that metta, karuna, mudita, can produce 3 material trances. So they are sort of more potent than the second category. So metta, karuna, and mudita can produce first jhana, second jhana, and third jhana. The fourth one, the fourth divine abode, that is upekka, can produce only the last material trance. So there are some concepts, as I told you, we have some concepts also. For example, now we have some meditation called recollections, anusatis. So these recollections or anusatis, for example, we have the anusati or the recollection on Buddha, we have recollection on Dhamma, Sangha, morality, charity, divine beings, body, death, so and so forth. So here, actually, they can produce access concentration only. What is access concentration? Access concentration is not a complete jhana or samadhi. So it is a level of concentration approximate to trance. So it's not an actual trance, but it is a level of approximate level of samadhi. So there is this difference. So the true samadhi is called Apana Samadhi. So I think here the true concentration or full concentration is called Apana, and the approximate level of concentration is called Upachara Samadhi, or otherwise access concentration in English. So from the ongoing discussion, we can understand that respiration kasinas are more important. Why? What is the reason actually? The reason is they are respiration is an inner potent empirical phenomena. We can, that is the most, the powerful experience that we have. Respiration is very powerful and it's very easy to catch. And what about the kasinas? So actually they are the visual objects prepared in prescribed definite measurements and coloring, and are kept in a distance that are tidy for potent visual experience. So later on, actually, I will be able to, if you want, describe about this, the measurements of the kasinas, the circular clay-made slabs which are made used in the meditation. So they can produce a very strong sign which is called nimitta in Pali in meditation, which is very which makes it easy for us to capture and by that produce 4 material jhanas themselves. Now there is another important thing, and this discussion produces answers to one of the important questions in the Buddhist tradition. That is it possible for someone to go to the immaterial jhanas, formless jhanas, without producing material jhanas first of all? So now as far as I know, the formless jhanas, the arupavachara jhanas, are not given as prerequisites. They themselves, okay, they alone are not given as prerequisites for jnana and dasana, direct knowledge, but they are given either with, they are given always, if they are indicated, they are named, they are given as prerequisites for jnana, dasana, knowing and seeing, they are always given with material jhanas, 4 material jhanas. So I have given here that actually formless jhanas are described being possible to be attained by transcending the perception of the matter and gross material impact. So in the discourses themselves, the formless jhanas are described in such a way that they are to be attained, they are introduced in such a way that they are to be attained only transcending the experience of matter. So here it is given the transcending the perception of matter and gross material impact. So in that sense, there is, we can sort of surmise with that this material jhanas are so important first of all to attain, and if you want to go to formless jhanas, you have to first attain to form jhanas and transcend that level and select one or the other formless meditative object of meditation and to go there. So what I want to say is that this material kind of experience of the object of meditation is so important when you talk about the progress of samadhi and or in other words jhana. Thank you very much. Later on I would like to answer your question if there are any. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Venerable Professor's informative presentation. And Venerable has introduced us the effective meditation for attaining concentration. And this concentration experience is in the higher level of non-sensuous experience, like in the Rupa Dhatu. And through this continuous, uninterrupted practice of concentration for some times, one attained jhana. And Venerable also offers other characteristics of concentration. For example, concentration brings about mental joys and happiness. In Pali, it's called piti and sukha. And further, he says in the Visuddhimagga and other commentaries, there are 40 types of meditation. And not all types of meditations are capable of reaching full concentration. Of all types of concentration, of all types of meditation, particularly the material object of meditation, he gave an example of respiration types of meditation and the Kashina types of meditation. They are the strongest in generating concentration and giving rise to 4 jhanas. And once again, thank you very much, Venerable Professor Vimala Jnana. So next, we shall invite the second presenter, Venerable Dhammadipa, and he presents a presentation entitled Samadhi Sikha in the Sanskrit Chinese tradition. And Venerable Dhammadipa was born in 1949 in Czechoslovakia. Yeah? And he received the full Theravada Bhikkhu ordination in Sri Lanka in 1987, where he practiced meditation under the guidance of his preceptor, Venerable Jnana Rama Mahathera. So in 1989, he received the threefold ordination as a Mahayana monk in Shilai Temple, Los Angeles, and began Dhamma teaching in US, Germany, and Taiwan. So in 1996, Venerable went to Myanmar to practice meditation under the Venerable Pa Sayadaw and was recognized by the Sayadaw to be the first of the Sayadaw's Western disciple qualified to teach meditation. He has since then, teaching Samatha and Vipassana meditation at monastery and university worldwide. So Venerable Dhammadipa is a famous meditation teacher in Europe, North America, Taiwan, and mainland China, India, and Southeast Asia. And he is very gentle and easygoing monk. So with deep respect, let us welcome Venerable Dhammadipa on the topic Samadhi Siksha in the Sanskrit Chinese traditions.
Good morning, everybody. So I have, because of the time limitation, I have just prepared 4 points that I think are very important for understanding the Samadhi Siksha in general. So first point is the importance of Samadhi, understanding what actually Samadhi is. The Samadhi is a term which is actually very difficult to translate. We can, from linguistic point of view, we can even interpret as a samyak adhana, the correct application of mind to objects, any objects, mental objects or non-mental objects. Actually, in the Chinese tradition, in Mahayana tradition, we also use skillful means of considering all objects being mental objects. Actually, this samadhi has a very, very wide spectrum of meanings. In early Buddhism, Abhidharma Kosha, in Theravada Abhidharma, actually, as far as samadhi is concerned, just like in case of Shila, and we will see in the case of wisdom, the sources are more or less the same. The interpretation differs. It is through interpretations that the traditions differ. The basic ideas are the same, also about the samadhi. So in the early Abhidharma, Abhidharma Kosha, Theravada, the samadhi actually is Sabachita Sadharana. It is the Maha Bhumika. It is a factor which is present in every moment of cognition. There cannot be cognition without samadhi, because the samadhi is what keeps the mental factors, which are the content of the mind, together. If they are not kept together, then there cannot be any thinking at all. This is very important to understand. So samadhi has to, on the most basic level, has to be present in every moment of mind, where the mind perceives the object or pays attention to the object, holds the object, grihnati. Then the samadhi from this basic function also finally has a function of liberating the mind. There is real samadhi is always joined with wisdom. And this interpretation is a little different in the northern tradition, in southern tradition. There is this famous verse of Dhammapada, Nati Janam Apanyasa, Nati Panya Ajanasa Yasa, Janam Cha Panya Cha, So Nibbanasa Santike. There is no dhyana without wisdom. There is no wisdom without dhyana. One who has wisdom and dhyana, he is close to the liberation. So we come to the next point, which is according to the Buddhist tradition, all Buddhist traditions, actually Sila is also the content of realization. There is no Buddha without a Sila. It is also clearly, we will find this idea in the Agama, in the northern tradition, in the southern tradition, like the Samyutta Nikaya, Samudra Sutta. You have the I is the ocean, one who in this great ocean of the I can tolerate the waves of the colors. He can cross the great ocean. Similarly, the mind is a great ocean, one who can tolerate in the waves of the mind, being the mental objects, he can cross the great ocean. It means the essence of Sila, the Indriya Samvara, is also the liberation. We cannot have liberation without the control of the senses. Samadhi also is the content of liberation. The difference between non-liberated person and liberated person is that a liberated person cannot lose his samadhi. His samadhi becomes continuous. Whether he be an arahat, a pratyeka Buddha, or the perfect Buddha, his samadhi will be continuous. Therefore, he is Buddha. This is very important to understand. Now, the next point I would like to point out is the special features of the interpretation of samadhi. The samadhi in Abhidharma, in the early Abhidharma, has, of course, the large scale of trainings starting in Abhidharma Samadhi. The Samadhi is described as 8 samapatis. As Venerable has pointed out, it is the synonym of dhyana or jhana. 8 samapatis in Abhidhamma is the content of Samadhi. And there is no Samadhi. There is no liberation without Samadhi. Impossible. The Samadhi is the content of liberation. This is very important. Now, because in jhana, the yogi is, so to say, bound to the object. He merges with the object and his mind cannot move. This is the nature of the jhana. The mind cannot move. So the mind is bound. The only state of jhana where the mind is not bound is when the mind has supernatural powers. The mind in the state of supernatural powers has the power of dhyana, but can move. But the ordinary mind in dhyana, it is merged with the object and cannot move. So in Northern Buddhism, this kind of situation came to be considered as some kind of hindrance for wisdom. In wisdom, the mind, the perfect situation is that wisdom and concentration, they move like 2 wheels of the chariot. This is a perfect situation. If one is higher than the other, then the chariot will be in trouble. If the both are on the same level, we are in the state of a liberated mind. And the training for this liberated mind is actually the same. The 8 samapatis, the 8 vimokshas, the 8 the spheres of domination, then the Sanya Vedaita Nirodha Samapati, which is the highest state of concentration where inside and outside are become both nirvana, both liberation. But in the Northern tradition came to emphasize that most important is the state of keeping samadhi and wisdom on the same level. This is the base of training. The job of wisdom is to purify the mind. This is also clearly expressed in all tradition. We learn in like in Dhammapada that by faith one crosses the floods, by apamada, by non-negligence one crosses the ocean, by effort, right effort, one goes beyond suffering. Only then the mind panyaya visujjati, then the mind will purify. The mind will purify when it has all these circumstances, that it has all these factors connected with Shila Sikha and with Samadhi Sikha. Then that means in the northern tradition, eventually, especially in Chinese tradition, because Chinese Buddhism has kind of a Zen flavor, which is connected with Chinese culture, in a way with Taoist ideas also. So in a Chinese tradition, the rather than emphasizing the training in the jhanas, this emphasis on the equality of wisdom and concentration came to be emphasized, which reveals we do not need to have supernatural powers. Even without supernatural powers, this liberating unity of mind can be revealed. This is Zen. So in Zen, we do not emphasize so much the practice of jhanas, even so it is considered very important. No one can deny its importance. What is important is this, based on the complex of the Prajna Paramita literature, what is important is the unity of concentration and wisdom. So this aspect, which is very interesting, actually you will not find in Zen, you will find already in the Yogacara Bhumi Shastra of Maitreya or Asanga, which presents the training in Samadhi in a different way, in a very original way. And this has influenced both Chinese and Tibetan concept of training in Samadhi. We teach Samadhi in 9 stages called Chitta Sthiti. And these, they bring us to the state of Samadhi. It automatically, the state of Samadhi is the state of the unity of wisdom and concentration. So these 9 stages, they express the continuation in learning the Samadhi Shiksha, which ends in a perfect unity of Samadhi and wisdom. So Stapayati, Samstapayati, Avastapayati, Upastapayati, Damayati, Shamayati, Vyupashamayati, Ekoti Karoti, Samadhyati. These are the 9 stages. First, one has to concentrate the mind inside. Then there has to be continuity in the concentration. Then one has to bring the mindfulness inside. In Northern tradition, the root of mindfulness is wisdom. Base for mindfulness is wisdom. Then when mindfulness appears, the sampajanya appears, the awareness appears, and the awareness, which is synonym of wisdom in Buddhism, will purify the mind. Will purify the mind from the tendency of thinking, laya, and from the tendency of rising, audatyam. Then the mind attains naturally one-pointedness, connected with the training in Vipassana. They will become on equal level. So these are the 4 points which I present as a kind of a framework for our understanding of Samadhi Shiksha and for the difference in the interpretation of actually the same tradition based on the same principles of training. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, the Venerable. Venerable is very well versed in many traditional languages and modern languages. That's why he quote a lot of languages. And also Bhante is expert in Mahayana and Theravada Buddhism. And Venerable says, for any practitioner, irrespective of any tradition, if without mastering of completing of three training, Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, and there is no way that one can attain liberation. And Venerable quotes from the Shravaka Jnana, that is the vehicle of a disciple, with regard to the interpretation of concentration. And Shravaka Jnana, vehicle of disciple, interprets the right concentration as the 9 attainment, if I'm not mistaken, 9 attainment. It means that the 4 rupa jhana, 4 arupa jhana, and 1 attainment in the cessation of mental formation is Nirodha Samapatti. And then they equated the perfection in concentration with the perfection in wisdom. And this perfection requires the uninterrupted practice of right mindfulness, which include both wisdom and concentration in regards to all objects. And thank you very much for Venerable insightful presentation. Now, we come to the third presenter, Venerable Yongji Mingyur Rinpoche. I hope I read your name correctly. And we shall invite our next presenter. I think many people know you, and however, I still need to briefly introduce you. And Rinpoche was born in 1975, and he is a Tibetan teacher and master of Karma Kagyu and Nyingma lineage of Tibetan Buddhism. And he has authored 2 best-selling books. One of his books is called The Joys of Living, Unlocking the Secret and Science of Happiness, debuted on the New York Times bestseller list and has been translated into 20 languages. And one of the Mingyur Rinpoche's greatest passion in bringing the practice of meditation to people from all walks of life. And he's working with professionals from a wide range of disciplines to adapt his Joys of Living retreat for use in different contexts, including hospitals, school, prisons, and leadership training. And as part of his effort, he is developing programs to train facilitators and instructors to teach the practice of meditation in these various settings. And with deep respect, let us welcome Yongji Mingyur Rinpoche. The topic is the essence of Samadhi, concentration, and how to bring it into everyday life. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Venerable, and all the Venerables, speakers, and brothers and sisters. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So my topic is about the Samadhi, the essence of Samadhi, and how to apply this in our life, especially in everyday life. And the previous great presenters really elaborate about what is the word meaning of Samadhi. So I don't need to go to detail about that. And there is various definition of Samadhi. So it is really happy to hear about all the different tradition. In the end, it come to the same meaning. So in the Tibetan tradition, we have Abhidharma Kosha. So in Abhidharma Kosha, there's 8 or 9 different samadhis. Then there's a wisdom, vipassana, many different levels of the vipassana, 4 base of mindfulness. So it is very happy to hear now from the Theravadan tradition, although there's a little bit slightly different word, different package, but same meaning. And from the Mahayana tradition, in Tibetan Buddhism, we have the Pancha Paramita, the text. So there's also really emphasize about the union of samadhi and the wisdom together. So it's very happy to hear these different traditions coming together, and very happy to be here with this dialogue with the different traditions also. So now, how to practice samadhi in everyday life? So there's a very famous story in Tibet. The great scholar Atisha, and the great meditator too. So he came from India to Tibet, and on the way he met one great scholar in Tibet. His name is Lozawa Rinchen Sangpo. So he is a great translator too. So he went to India, east, south, west, north, many different parts of India, and he learned all the Buddha Dharma according to Pali tradition, Sanskrit tradition, all of those. And he went back to Tibet and taught many those teachings to the many peoples in Tibet. And later in his life, he thought, now I really want to concentrate, practice all this Dharma. So he made his retreat house, 3 floors, first floor, second floor, third floor, and he practiced the Pali tradition, Sanskrit tradition in different floors. Then one time he heard that the Adisha was coming to Tibet. So he really wanted to come to meet Adisha, and he met Adisha. And they have a lot of great discussion. And Adisha said, oh, actually, I don't need to come to Tibet. Such learned and a great meditator like you in Tibet, then I don't need to come. Then Adisha asked him, now, how you can practice all this Dharma in one cushion? And he said, morning, I go to the first floor, and then the second floor. And after that, evening, I go to the third floor, and I practice all this different level. And Adisha said, oh, now I know why I have to come to Tibet. So Adisha said, you have to practice all this Dharma in one cushion. So normally what we call 84,000 of the Buddha's teaching, we need to practice on one cushion. So how to practice on one cushion? The important is, let's say, so we choose one particular meditation technique, breathing meditation. So Apana Samadhi in the Pali language, what we call to be aware of the breathing coming in, the breath coming in and going. So there's many various meditation techniques, but the breathing is the most famous and one of the most easy one. So when we practice this breathing meditation, the first important, develop renunciation. Really, the purpose, want to practice this breathing meditation to be free from samsara, to achieve nirvana. Then we take refuge. So Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, Buddha as teacher, Dharma as path, Sangha as friend or path. So refuge. Then we add bodhicitta, special if you are the Mahayana practice. So the bodhicitta here is, I want to practice this meditation. The motivation is, I want to help to others. So if we transform, if everybody in the world, if we transform, then world transform. The problem is we don't want to transform ourselves. We want to change the world. So that's the problem. So in the past, a lot of dictators, they want to change the world. And what happened? In the end, the world become chaotic. So I want to practice this meditation in order to benefit for others, to benefit for all sentient beings, to also help them to lead to the enlightenment. Therefore, I'm going to practice this breathing meditation. So that's what we call bodhicitta. Then the very important is, Buddha taught many different teachings, like 4 Noble Truths, 8 Noble Paths. So how all these teachings come down to one breathing meditation technique. So this is really important to understand. So the first important, what Buddha taught is the 4 Noble Truths is the truth of suffering. dukkha. So the practice of the truth of suffering is what we call to be known, to be understood. And the second noble truth is the causes of the suffering, which is to be abandoned, to be eliminated. And the third, the cessation, the nirvana, that is to achieve. And the last is the path, to rely on. So to be known, to be abandoned, to be achieved, to rely on, these four things. And the Buddha taught this in many different sutta. Example is the ancient, the example about to understand the sickness and to remove the causes of the sickness, and then healthy, and then treatment, the last is. So when we got sick, the first important is we go to the hospital and to check up, spend a lot of money to diagnose what disease, what kind of disease that I'm having now. So to be understand, that's the practice of the first Four Noble Truth. So now the here practice is the breathing meditation, to be aware of our own breath. So how to aware of our own breath? And that is the what we call sati in the Pali tradition, and the Sanskrit name is the smriti. So translate as mindfulness or translate as awareness. The main thing is to be, to know. So knowing your own breath, be with your own breath. Sometimes when I teach meditation, I ask my students, how many of you are breathing right now? If you are breathing now, please raise your hand. And everybody raise hand. So then I said, yeah, that is the mindfulness, that is awareness. Actually, just to be aware of whatever there with you. So you are to be aware of your own breath. It doesn't matter what the breathing style is. Some people have deep breathing, some shallow breathing, some irregular breathing, some peaceful breathing, some have not so peaceful. So it doesn't matter. Knowing as they are. So this is the practice of the first noble truth, to know the suffering as they are. We are not controlling the breath. So just be with the whatever breath you have, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So then what happened is the cause of suffering. So the second noble truth is the cause of suffering is three. So lobha, dosa, mula in the Pali language, and Sanskrit is mula is the same, and raga or desha, but the main meaning is the same thing. So the basis of suffering is the mula, which is ignorant. And then there's two things, aversion and craving. So craving and aversion. These three are the root of suffering, cause of the problem. So when we watch our breath, certainly what we call the monkey mind will come up. Bala, 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 yada, 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 yada. Oops. I remember my, to-do list. Oops. I said something wrong with someone. I'm regret, guilt. Oh, my deadline. When I have to finish this job. So there's stress. And there's a lot of chats going on in your mind. So when these things comes, what we do? Accept it. Let them come, let them go. So this is the practice of how to letting go of aversion. So we try to be kind to ourselves, try to accept, try to allowed thought and emotion. If you try to fight with them, they become worse. So normally I give example about, please, 1 minute, don't think about the pizza. And then when we say, don't think about pizza, don't think about pizza, what happened? The more pizza will come. So pizza become louder and clear. And after a certain level, pizza is all over in our mind. Then we have misunderstanding about meditation. So many people think meditation is think of nothing, no pizza, breathing, no pizza. Then what happened? We are very busy with not try to think of pizza, then we forget the breath. So here the main important point is let pizza come. 2 pizza, 3 pizza, 4 pizza, 5 pizza. If the 10 pizza comes around you, let them come. But the most important is don't forget the breath. Be with the breath. As long as if we remember our own breath, let pizza come. Okay. Blah, 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 yada, yada. Okay. So that is the awareness. That is the mindfulness. Just be with the breath. And of course, at the beginning, we cannot be with the breath long. Very short, glimpse of the breath. Let them come. So this is the really practice of letting go of aversion. And we don't care about what kind of breathing. We don't care about experience, peaceful, normally what we call non-conceptual experience, bliss or joyful experience, clarity experience. Don't care about those. And also nowadays, many people has misunderstand about meditation is samadhi, is looking for peace, looking for calm, peace. I'm watching my breath. I need a peace. So when we look for peace and peaceful experience, we'll say, I'm busy. For example, if you go to the exam, you prepare all the exam, the answers, everything, and then you go to the exam hall. When you really remember all this answers, what happened? Your mind become blank. Oh, I remember, and cannot remember. And then time's up. Soon as if you come out of exam hall, you remember. So therefore, when we say no, the monkey mind say yes. When we say yes, monkey mind said no. So that is the causes of suffering. So when I was young, I had panic attacks. The main problem is the panic of panic, fear of panic, aversion of panic. So that is the cause of suffering in our everyday life. And that comes in our job, in our relationship, at study, any level in our life. So through the meditation, we can eliminate the causes of suffering, which is ignorant. So ignorant meaning not knowing the nature of reality. So now you're knowing the nature of your own breath. First, just know the breath as it is. Then slowly, we change the focus. Then come to our body, to be aware of our body, all the elements, sensations. So then eventually come to the awareness of the feeling. And this feeling is coming and going, impermanent, independent. There's no such as self. So anicca, anatta, dukkha. So these 3 things are the very important about the vipassana, the wisdom. Then we also see thought and emotion, the mind, also the nature of the mind also. Then all phenomena, so 4 bases of mindfulness, we can begin with the breathing. So as we do that, then what happened? We are more free, more happy. So the liberation, nirvana, step by step will achieve. So then that ongoing practice is the path. So when we do that, then there is all the 4 the 4 noble truth practice also together, begin with the breath, and also the 8 the right view, right motivation, and speech, action, livelihood, and effort, samadhi and meditation, all are there together with the one meditation practice. So I think this is really important that we can apply in our everyday life, and the formal meditation should be fully time dedicated with the meditation with the silent, but informal meditation, we can practice meditation everywhere, anytime, while we are talking, walking, driving, study, anywhere. One breath, two breath, half breath, also okay. Just bring the awareness on the breath. So that's finished, and thank you very much for all of you.
Venerable Rinpoche is very well known for his teaching of joyful meditation and to teach people how to become a happy person. And no wonder he's called the happiest person in the world. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, yes, Bhante? Yeah, Venerable. So in this presentation...
I'm not the happiest. Please, happiest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And in this presentation, he presents the application of meditation through the awareness and to be aware of whatever that appeared in the mind, and simply with it, no control of anything, just comes and go. And he said that the mind is like a monkey, tainted by greed, hatred, and delusion. And he gives useful tips, be aware of it, or simply be with it. In this way, our mind will be free from greed, hatred, and delusion. And he further says that the concentration consists of samatha and vipassana, and they are interdependent. Finally, when one sees the truth of non-self, he will see the emptiness, and he achieved the liberation. And thank you very much for your wonderful teaching on meditation. And now we come to the fourth presenter, Venerable Associate Professor Rangama Chandawimala. So is Bhante here now? Okay. All right. Okay, so Venerable Professors Rangama Chandawimala is a Sri Lankan Buddhist monk. I can't see you, Bhante.
Oh,
because Bhante just landed in Singapore this morning. Yeah, I believe you are very rushed. Yeah, I think because of the time taken, to access to room, and it's also time taken for the arrangement of quarantine. So I believe you're in a hurry. So just relax for a while. Yeah, let me introduce. Yeah, and
sorry for everything.
Okay, so Bhante is a Sri Lankan Buddhist monk, received his high ordination in 1989, and he graduated from the University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka, in Buddhist philosophy in 1994, and obtained MA, a master degree from the same university in 1997. He also received MA and PhD in Buddhist studies from the University of Hong Kong in 2003 and 2008 respectively. So we know each other quite well when we were together in the same university. I think at that time we were still young, studying at the same University of Hong Kong, I think almost 18 years ago, yeah? And currently he is an associate professor at the Buddhist College of Singapore, yeah, at Quang Minh San Monastery. And his latest publication is Heterodox Buddhism, the School of Abhayagiri.
Yeah.
So with deep respect, let us welcome Venerable Associate Professor Rangama Chandawimala. The topic is an introspection into Samadhi, Indriya, and Samadhi Bala. The floor is yours.
Thank you, is Dalai Lama. Can you hear me, Venerable? Venerable, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Proceed, yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm very sorry for all the troubles that happened, because today, just now, I actually came to Singapore. Now I'm I'm in quarantine, and I will be the first one to present, being in quarantine. So I'm very grateful and thankful for the organizers, and also especially my friend, Brother Wilson, for inviting me for this great international conference. And it is an honor actually for me to participate with this conference and also share some views with my colleagues and also the friends in the Dhamma around the world. And again, actually, I'm very thankful for organizing this kind of conference for the world today, because the whole world is facing a big panic at the moment, actually, because of the epidemic happening around the world. So anyway, thank you, Venerable Dhammapala, being my chairperson today, and you are one of my great friends for many years. And today I'm going to actually give a very short speech. And I had to change a lot of things because of the things happened, and Brother Vinny have been helping me over 1 hour to come to this conference because of technical issues. Now I'm only using my phone. I cannot use my computer because I didn't use my computer for more than 1 year. Something had happened with it. So my topic is an introspection into Samadhi Indriya and Samadhi Bala, or Samadhi Indriya and Samadhi Bala. So this is my outline for the talk: epistemological and soteriological aspects of Samadhi in Pali Buddhism. And the second point is cultivation of Samadhi Indriya and Samadhi Bala. And the third one is spiritual faculty of Samadhi and spiritual faculty of, spiritual power of Samadhi. And then applicability of Samadhi in everyday life. These are the outlines here that I'm going to just briefly explain. Actually, whenever we learn the Dhamma, especially, the practice is the most important part. We know that learning and practice should go together. Probably a lot of speakers you have mentioned and talked about the Sila, this part. Unfortunately, because of my traveling, I couldn't participate the second part of the conference yesterday. And we know that when we learn the Dhamma, actually there are 3 aspects of learning the Dhamma: Sunata, Dhareta, and Charata. We must learn, and then we must retain the things that we learn in our mind, and also we should practice the Dhamma. That's the most important part. Practice is the most important part. Learning without practice is actually, it is barren. And also, practice without learning is actually the practice without learning is blind. Practice without learning is blind. So these 2 things are extremely important: practice and learning and practice. So when we talk about the path of knowledge, especially the Buddhist path of knowledge, and there are 2 terms. We said that jnana and dasana. Jnana and dasana, knowledge and the vision, knowledge and vision. These 2 things are extremely important. Whenever we learn the Dhamma, and actually this teaching is leading towards wisdom or panya. Actually, finally, what we get as of this learning, that is Panya, the wisdom. So whenever we talk about the Buddhist path, on the Buddhist path of liberation, Tisikkha or threefold training is extremely important. Without actually Tisikkha, we cannot talk about the practical aspects of Buddhism, because the practice of Buddhism, actually the practical aspect of Buddhism based on these three, Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. The Dhamma has been expounded by the Buddha aiming towards the ultimate liberation. That means actually the nirvana. We know that Buddha is the enlightened person. When we refer to the Pali tradition, it says that Buddho so Bhagava bodhaya dhamman deseti. Danto so Bhagava dhammataya dhamman deseti. Santo so Bhagava samataya dhamman deseti. Tinno so Bhagava taranaya dhamman deseti. Parinibbuto so Bhagava parinibbanaya dhamman deseti. This is actually the final aim of Buddhism. If I just explain the English meaning of these Pali statements, they go like this. The Blessed One who attained the enlightenment teaches the Dhamma to attain the enlightenment. The Blessed One who is tamed teaches the Dhamma for taming, actually taming of the beings. The Peaceful One who attained the peacefulness teaches the Dhamma for peace of all beings. The Blessed One who crossed the ocean of samsara teaches the Dhamma to cross the ocean of samsara. And the Blessed One who attained the final liberation teaches the Dhamma for the liberation of all beings. Actually, when we refer to the original teachings of the Buddha, the Dhamma is for this. The Dhamma is for enlightenment, peacefulness, and also for the tame of all the beings, and also in order to cross the samsara, and also to leave the samsara, entering to the parinibban. That means that is the end of the life and death, especially the cycle of life and death. So therefore, application of the Dhamma is the most important thing, the most essential thing. Learning the Dhamma is very important, but the practice of the Dhamma is the most important part here. We know that there are a lot of scholars and Dhamma educators writing books after books, writing articles after articles. But actually, when we refer to the practice of most of the scholars, the Buddhist scholars, actually the practical side is not that good, right? So the practice is the most important thing. So this is very important thing. Again, I want to remind that learning without practice is actually, it's barren. So therefore, practice is the most important thing. And that is why we always talk about the Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. So Buddhism is to be learned and practiced together. The other thing is that the aspect of learning the Dhamma, the most important thing is that when we talk about the just psychological and soteriological aspects of Buddhism, and this is a very important thing. That means we have to develop our knowledge, and also we have to develop our wisdom. We know that when we learned in the secular education, we talk about the three domains or the three aspects of learning. somewhat actually similar to the Sunata, Dhareta, Charata, learning, retaining, and practice. So these three things, or three aspects or domains of learning, we say that cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor. And these three aspects talk about actually getting knowledge and also transformation of the learner after learning actually the secular things. But if we apply it to the Dhamma, after learning the Dhamma, there is a self-transformation within us. And also, as a result of that, we are, going to practice the Dhamma. That is the psychomotor aspect. So the psychomotor aspect actually talking about the practice, whatever that you are learning, practice is the most important thing. So the Buddhist path of knowledge aims to jnana and vision, the dasana, knowledge and vision. So in the Dhammacakka Sutta, that means in the very first discourse of the Buddha said that the Dhamma I appeared to him. So Dhammacakkhum Udapadi, the Buddha said like that. That means actually whenever he practiced the Dhamma, finally he attained liberation, or otherwise the true understanding of the phenomena. So practicing the Dhamma is the most important aspect of the learning of the Dhamma. So whenever we talk about the Buddhist teaching or the practice, this threefold training leads actually towards the wisdom, right? Sila, Samadhi, and Prajna, or Prajna, Sila, Samadhi, Prajna. The importance of, when we talk about the second part of my talk, the cultivation of Samadhindriya and Samadhi Bala. That's very important. Whenever we talk about the indriyas, you know that we have, basically we talk about 5 indriyas or 6 indriyas or the faculties. Eye, and then the ear, the nose, and then the tongue, the body, and the mind. These are the faculties, and without mind, we, the other 5, we say the 5 indriyas. These 5 indriyas are extremely important for us. If the indriyas are impaired or if they are damaged, we cannot perceive the world. In the same way, if Saddha Indriya is not there on the path of liberation, actually our practice won't be completed. So this Samadhi Indriya is a very important thing, Samadhi Indriya. We say that there are 5 Indriyas. We said that Saddha, Sati, Virya, Samadhi, and Prajna. So they are called spiritual faculties, as same as the, the faculties of our body, physical faculties. But when we talk about the path of liberation, these 5 faculties are extremely important. Among these 5 faculties, Samadhi is very important. Why? Without Samadhi, one may not able to realize the truth. So Samadhi is a result of practicing, like a Sila and the other practices. So through this, we come to the Samadhi, and then the Samadhi leads to Nirvana, and also, or otherwise we call Prajna. So in the same way, when we lose the power or the physical power, we may not able to do anything. We may not able to learn the Dhamma and practice the Dhamma. In the same way, whenever we lose the power of Samadhi, actually our spiritual path or our spiritual cultivation won't be successful. So samadhi is like a special power. This power brings us the spiritual power actually to follow the path without falling down. So samadhi always helps us as a faculty and also as a power. Whenever we lose our, whenever we get damage of these faculties, physical faculties, and we face a lot of difficulties in our daily life. In the same way, we are the followers of the Dhamma. We are following the path. We are on the path. And then when our samadhi is affected or damaged, when our spiritual power is damaged, actually it affects us greatly. To follow this path effectively. So each one should develop this spiritual faculty of samadhi and also spiritual power of samadhi. Without these two, it is very hard to realize the truth. So in our everyday life, when we talk about the last part of my talk, and for all of us, the applicability of samadhi in our everyday life very important. We know that as the monks, their paths or their practice is a little bit different from the common people. Monks have renounced, and they can focus on the practice easily than the lay people. Lay people come to the practice or the path with a lot of responsibilities, the family responsibilities, and they have to take care their children, and they have the responsibilities running their families and taking care of parents or children and husband, wife, and in this way, and also whenever they go to the workplace in the society, or to whatever that they have the link in their society, and it is not easy for the lay people to just focus on the Dhamma easily as the monks. However, the lay life is not miserable, and some people think that the samsaric life is very miserable, especially some Dhamma teachers. Even they teach the Dhamma for lay people in a little bit, pessimistic way. That means this life is miserable. That is not good. Even in the Sigaluva, the Sutta, the Buddha said that lay people should work for the success of this life and then the life after this. Ubholoko vijaya patipanno hoti. The reason for Buddha to talk about these two, the success of the two life, this life and the life after this, that means the lay people have a lot of responsibilities, not like monks. Monks have renounced their life and they can focus on the Dhamma and practice it. So the lay life is something like a life of a peacock. You know that the peacock is very beautiful. It has long feathers, the plumes, and a very attractive body. So household life also something like that, having children around then, husband and wife and the parents, and the life is beautiful. It is not miserable. But a peacock can fly in the same way that the Buddhist people can follow the path, but little bit slower than whom? Than the song. The life of a monk is like a life of a song. The song can fly very high and very fast, and his body is not that heavy as the peacock. The peacock's feather, the tail is a very long and it's a very beautiful, and he has a protected, and it's quite heavy for his life, and he cannot fly very high. So, however, he also can fly. Swan also can fly, but faster and higher. The lay people also can follow the path, but like the life of a peacock. However, they also can go to nirvana. So when we talk about the practicability of the Dhamma for the common people, that is very important. So they should try to develop the samadhi within their life. We know that in everyday life, we have Khanika Samadhi and Apana Samadhi and all that. I think the other speakers had talked about all this. I'm not going to discuss about all these things. However, the applicability of the Samadhi, the Dhamma, is a very important thing for our everyday life in order to make our life, life meaningful, and in order to make everything perfect. I mean, in order to do things properly, correctly, nicely, beautifully. Whenever we talk about household life, and lay people have a lot of duties, matters, household matters, and they have to perform all these duties, and they have to reach their goals in their lay life. But at the same time, they need to practice and focus on the Dhamma. So while we are talking about the threefold training, Sila, Samadhi, Panya, Tisikkha, or Trishiksha, actually, we must give. And in Buddhism, the lay people has given a lot of, the place and a very big place for them to practice the Dhamma. So when we talk about the applicability of the Samadhi, this is very important thing. And we must teach the Dhamma to the people so that they can practice the Dhamma properly, and also so that they can reach their goals in a beautiful way. And in this way, they can make their life beautiful here and hereafter, in the same way that how the monks are doing. So thank you, Venerable. Thanks very much for Venerable Dhammapala giving me this time, opportunity. And so I thank everyone here, the speakers, and I'm very happy to share this, the digital
thank you very
platform with
much.
all of you. And yeah, thanks so much.
Okay, so okay, so thank you very much, Bhante.
Thank you, thank you.
Venerable
Thank you.
Professor Chandravimala. And Venerable Professor Chandravimala discusses the Samadhi from the soteriological aspect, as presented in the Pali Buddhism. And he said that the learning and practice should go together. And the Buddha teaches Dhamma. He has highlighted many times Dhamma that lead to the final liberation. And I remember Ajahn Chah, I think for Theravada, he's a great meditation master in Thailand. And he has said that the study without practice is like a ladder in a pot of soup, right? The ladder is in the pot of soup every day, but it doesn't know the taste of the soup, right? Similarly, we can immerse ourselves in the Dhamma studies and talk, but if we want to experience the taste of the Dhamma, and we must put those teachings into practice through the reflection and meditation. So thank you very much, Venerable Professor Chandravimala, for your excellent presentation. And we have completed 4 wonderful presentations and by distinguished teachers, masters, and scholars of respective tradition. So now we move to the reflection part, and we have 3 reflections on the 4 presentations. So the first reflection is on the first presentation entitled Material Object, the potent meditative object to cultivate jhana concentration. And this reflection will be discussed by Venerable Geshe Tenzin Damcho. So let me introduce him. Venerable Geshe Tenzin Damcho, born in Dharamsala, India, and he studied for 16 years on Buddhist philosophy and got the Geshe degree, which is equivalent to PhD from the Drepung Loseling Monastery of South India. At present, he's working at Sarak College for Higher Tibetan Studies as a lecturer on Buddhist philosophy and coordinator. So let us welcome Venerable Geshe Tenzin Damcho. The floor is yours.
First of all, my deep respect to all the spiritual masters and the Mahasanghas. So the meditation, normally when I talk to the students, I always used to ask them, have you ever watched the movie The Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? Why? Because in that one, the witch standing in front of the mirror asking, mirror, mirror, tell me who's the most beautiful girl. Oh no, mirror, mirror, tell me who's the most fairest girl of all. Like the same way, the meditation, it helps us to reflect about oneself. Mind, mind, mind. What was my motivation? And what was my, is it a conditional or unconditional? So as for the meditation, it was when I listened to all the earlier speakers, and the presentation, when we look from the Mahayana or from the Sanskrit tradition or also from the Pali tradition, so we have like lots of similarities. And also when we talk about the three higher trainings, it also like talks about the importance of the meditation. And also in one famous master of the Tibetan Buddhists, the scholar said, all the great Mahasiddhis and the Buddhas and the Arahats, they attained the aim through the meditation. So it also looks like the meditation is also the most important to stabilize our mind and focus our mind and to attain the enlightenment. So when we listen from the early presentations, like especially focusing on the breathing, then also from the Buddhist perspective, like from the Sanskrit tradition, and also what do we say is visualization on the image of an object, and also visualization of oneself as a deity of whatever the deity practice that you are doing. So, but as for the deity practice, what do we say is like it's a little bit advanced, and also to practice the deity practice, visualize oneself as a deity, it's important to know the ultimate truth. And also, if you don't know the ultimate truth and realize the emptiness, what do we say is that there is a danger of developing a kind of like ego, that's oneself as a thinking oneself as a deity. So the meditation in let's say meditation in the Sanskrit, in our tradition, what do we say is in the beginning, do short period of times, but number of times. And also the later, once you become a little bit advanced in the practice, and what do we say is do like longer period of times, but small number of times. Sometimes like what I feel is in the beginning, when we just try to push too much, like doing a meditation just for like 45 minutes, 30 minutes, there's a danger of losing an interest. And so to keep the interest, what do we say is like just do a meditation for 1 minute, then take a rest, then again take a meditation for 1 minute, then take a rest, then slowly and gradually improve like the time, first 1 minute, then 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 4 minutes, by increasing it. So and also with the meditation, we have like different types of meditation, 3 years, 3 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, like that. So not only in the Sangha community, there are also like number of lay communities, they're also doing this kind of like meditation. So in Tibet, like the greatest yogi that we have ever produced is by let's say, it's the great Milarepa. And in the end, when he gave his advice to his chief disciple, the Rechungpa, what he did was he showed his bump. So in the beginning, it looks like very strange, right? Why he showed the bump. But when he saw the bump of the Milarepa, it's kind of like turned into a skeleton and very skinny. So it's indirectly what he's saying is, if you want to meditate, just sit at one place and do the hard work rather than moving from one place to another. So I always used to tell, like, when we do a meditation, we used to think that, oh, I used to do a meditation, but sometimes we develop an ego. So I always used to tell, if you read the life stories of the Milarepa and also some of the great yogis, then it will help you to, let's say, uplift one's mind and bring down one's ego. So sometimes, like when we do the meditation, we used to think, oh, I've done this, I've done that. But in reality, when we just try to compare with the Milarepa, and we realize that we have done nothing. Then also with the meditation on the breathing. So it's very, what I feel is like the meditation and the concentration on the breathing is very, very, very important for all the beginners. Then slowly, what I found was in the West, when they talk about the meditation, they just shut the thoughts and just try to think on blank. And one of my friends told me, oh, meditation is not helping me at all. And I used to ask them, how do you do the meditation? And they told me like, oh, I just block the conceptual thoughts. And while I do the meditation, it helps me. It gives me a sense of like peace. Then I said like, oh, now you have to improve a little bit further, not only on just blocking thoughts. So once we open our eyes, all the mundane problems is still there, right? So we used to say, do the analytical meditation, the vipassana. Then while focusing on the vipassana, not only on the breathing, now try to think, okay, meditation on death, meditation on anger, meditation on love. So how with the analytical meditation, then it will help you to focus with the stabilization of like one-pointedness meditation. So that's what I thought.
So thank you very much to Venerable Geshe, Tenzin Damcho, for your reflection. So now the second reflection is on the second and third presentation, entitled Samadhi Siksha in the Sanskrit Chinese tradition and the essence of Samadhi and how to bring it into everyday's life. And this reflection will be discussed by Ajahn Achalo. Ajahn Achalo, the founding board of Anandagiri Monastery, Forest Monastery in Phetchabun, Thailand, and he was born in Australia in 1972. He developed a keen interest in meditation at the age of 20, and a year later left for Thailand to study Buddhism. So Ajahn Achalo ordained as a bhikkhu in 1996 under Ajahn Liam at Wat Pa Pong. So let us welcome Ajahn Achalo.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be with you. Thank you, Venerable Dhammapala, Venerable Miraswati Vimala, Venerable Dhammadipo, His Eminence Mingya Rinpoche, Venerable Professor Arangama Tanda Vimala, and Venerable Geshe Tenzin Damcho. I cannot profess to having any particular great learning. I am, however, a part of the Thai forest practice tradition in the lineage of Lompo Cha, and I can attest to putting forth effort in my practice. And this is what I wanted to make the focus of my short reflection today. We've been listening and discussing, contemplating the various types of samadhi and the various objects that one contemplates or cultivates in order to develop those samadhis. The particular thing that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to make a couple of points. Several people have already, venerables have already talked about the importance of breath meditation. In terms of having a lovely reference in the suttas, in the introduction to the Apana Samadhi Sutta, Lord Buddha explains that when breath meditation, when made much of, when cultivated, fulfills the cultivation of the four foundations of mindfulness. In fulfilling the four foundations of mindfulness, the 7 factors of enlightenment are brought to fruition also, leading to liberation. So it's a wonderful, short, very succinct teaching where Lord Buddha is helping us to see the immense value of breath meditation. So when we come to do our, speaking in practical terms, when we come to do our breath meditation, it's your body that sits on the cushion. So you're mindful of the body in a sitting posture. When you come to be aware of the breath, you're mindful of the feelings. And then even when various mind states arise, wholesome dhammas, unwholesome dhammas, you're trying to be aware of the breath, but you become aware of mind states and dhammas, wholesome or unwholesome. So it's a very, we don't try to, as several venerables have said, we don't try to squeeze the mind into only being aware of the breath. We are practicing awareness of the breath, but also aware of other things that we experience in the practice of the meditation. Another thing I wanted to mention was the importance of effort. So nobody is going to experience the states of jhana or the higher levels of jhana or the samadhi that leads to the crossing over without having put forth a great deal of effort. So this is where I think we need to be very consistent in a practice discipline, in a disciplined practice. And as Venerable Tenzin Damcho was saying, perhaps if a person isn't yet skilled, many smaller sessions, but laying that habit, laying that foundation. And then as the skills in meditation become developed, having perhaps less sessions, but for longer periods of time. Luang Por Chah did say about practice, meditation practice. He said the most appropriate attitude or the most appropriate practice is that when you want to do it, you do it. When you don't want to do it, you do it. When you're peaceful, you do it. When you're not peaceful, you do it. When you're lazy, you do it. And when you're diligent, you do it. And I think the reason for this is when we have a commitment to our meditation practice, we are going to develop insight into mind states. We will see them arising, staying for some time and ceasing, changing. And we will see about how sense contact and mind states affect the mood. But we will develop insight naturally over course, because when we come to sit, we're refining the awareness, we're refining the mindfulness. And so then we can develop insight into the nature of our mind states. So in this way, we're trying to develop concentration, but we are also learning about sense contact, about how sense contact produces mind states, about how mind states arise, stay for some time and cease, etc. But I do think, as Luang Por Chah is pointing there, that we need to make a great deal of effort. When we look at the 37 Bodhipakkhya Dhammas, for example, you have the 4 great efforts mentioned, and then you have right effort in the Eightfold Path. So out of 37 Dhammas, we have 5 in the area of effort. So we do need to put a lot of effort into practice. I think one of the most important things, which sometimes isn't mentioned, is the necessity for consistency. Because it seems to me that mindfulness is a somewhat subtle quality in the beginning. But if we practice consistently over a long period of time, that mindfulness, samma sati, with sampajanya, clear comprehension, gets more and more powerful. And that is one of the most important conditions for the arising of samma samadhi. But if we do it for a period of time, and then we stop, and we get busy, the hindrances get thicker, the kilesas get thicker. And when we start again, it's almost as if like you're starting all over again. So I think consistency in practice is very important. Another thing that is important is the long-term optimistic view. So sometimes people do put a lot of effort into practice, but they might be a bit impatient, or they feel that they're not quite getting the results that they want quick enough. And so several of the teachers in my lineage, Ajahn Anan, and Ajahn Anan, who used to be the secretary of Luang Por Chah, he said that however much effort you put into your practice, the result is definitely coming. It might not come as quickly as you like, but it is literally reducing the number of deluded births, the practice that you're doing, and the final liberation is coming closer and closer. Another teacher, Venerable Ajahn Biek, says, if you practice a lot and you don't seem to get great results, it's because you didn't yet practice much in your past lives. All the more reason why you have to practice a lot in this life. So I just wanted to put an emphasis upon sowing the causes for the development of sammasati, for strong and resilient, consistent sampajanya, clear comprehension. And if we are consistent and we do so those causes, the samma samadhi will arise as a result of all of that skillful, wholesome effort. But that's all. I only had a short period of time, so I just wanted to emphasize about the skillful, right, consistent effort, giving a rise to samadhi in ongoing stages.
Thank you very much. So now, thank you very much, Ajahn Achalo, for your reflection. And the third reflection will be discussed by Dr. Ng Wai Chong. And Dr. Ng learned the Dhamma from many teachers since his medical school days in the late 80s. And in year 2000, after having the opportunity to meet and care for the Venerable Paus Sayadaw, he learned meditation from Sayadaw Ji directly by taking month-long sabbatical every year to go to Paau Forest Monastery in Myanmar. And in 2006, when Brahma Vihari Meditation Center was completed, Dr. Ng took a 6-month sabbatical to learn from Sali Dipankara as the first batch of students attending meditation retreats there. So at the end of the retreat, Dr. Ng completed the Samatha syllabus, the Rupa and Nama Kammatthana, and started on the training of discerning the 12 links of dependent origination. And since then, he regularly attends retreat under the guidance of Sali Dipankara, practicing Samatha and Vipassana. So let us welcome Dr. Ng Wai Chong.
Thank you, Bhante Dhammapala, and I'd like to express my deepest respect to the Mahasangha, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be here, partaking in this meritorious undertaking of sharing the Dhamma and learning the Dhamma. So we have 2 questions here posed to perhaps the first speaker, Venerable Miriswati, as well as the 4th speaker, Venerable Chanda Vimala. So it's related to the Abhidhamma Pitaka. So in the Theravada tradition, the Abhidhamma Pitaka is regarded as the Buddha's teachings, and yet in the 5th book, the Katawattu, is said to be authored by a Venerable Moggallana, I can't remember his name. So, and in that particular Katawattu, he was sort of disputing 17 other schools. So how would the Venerables address this? So is Abhidhamma Pitaka the authentic teaching of the Buddha? And why was it that other schools were sort of critiqued or criticized?
If I heard the question properly, you asked about why Venerable Moggaliputta Tissa in his work criticized the other Buddhist traditions, or how he treated meditation in his work. The question was not clear to me, sir.
Yes. So, well, the person who asked the question, I'm not sure what is the actual questions that he have in his heart, but I suppose there were people who sort of questioned the authenticity of the Abhidhamma Pitaka, and especially, for example, in some of the books, like particularly the 5th one, the Katawattu, obviously it cannot be from the Gautama Buddha himself, since it's related to
I think I understand.
the debate.
So now, as someone who study these things in scholarly point of views, we can say a lot of things, but I can give you a very simpler answer to this one. We know the Tripitaka is a set of books. All the details of the Dhamma were not included in the Tripitaka. So mostly the Tripitaka texts are composed of the explanations, the discourses of the Buddha and the immediate disciples of the Buddha. And what about the rest of the discussions, explanations, elaborations? They demand and they need to be preserved. For a longer period of time, they were preserved by recitation, but there was this need that that they needed to be written in the course of time for the preservation, and they needed to be systematized also. So first they were not written, but they needed to be systematized in such a way that the meaning is very precise and clear to many. So this is how actually Abhidharma came into being. So it was an attempt to systematically put the teaching of the Buddha. It was an attempt to systematically put the kind of the explanations about the teachings of the Buddha, which the tradition needed. And then when we come to Kathavatu, actually Kathavatu is, we know that Kathavatu is the only text in Abhidharma which is definitely introduced as a work of a scholarly monk, Venerable Moggaliputta. But in this text actually, in the commentaries of the Pali tradition, it's clearly pointed out that the Matika, the basic topics of the teaching, the basic topics of the Abhidharma, especially in case of Kathavatu, was taken from the teachings of the Buddha, and based upon that the Kathavatu was written. So this is given in the commentaries, and this is how the tradition accepted and introduced it. So from that point of view, what is presented in the Kathavatu is not the concepts or the ideas or the views of this particular venerable, but they are the teachings which are derived from the basic doctrines of the teachings of the Buddha. So if I understood the question properly, I think this is how the authenticity of the Abhidharma, and particularly the authenticity of the Kathavatu, was accepted in the Pali tradition.
Thank you, Venerable. So if I understand Venerable correctly, the Sutta Pitaka and the Vinaya stories, they're similar to the modern day scientific journals of scientific research and studies, and they come to some kind of discussion and conclusion. Whereas if somebody would like to study all the journals, you need help to compile everything into perhaps a textbook. And the textbooks are properly referenced. So it's like the Abhidharma is referenced to the Sutta Pitaka and perhaps the Vinaya stories. And you can't say that the Abhidharma is not the Buddha's teachings in that light. Right.
I explain Abhidharma as a systematic extension of the teaching of the Buddha himself.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. And yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. So the question from the chat, when I look at it, is very overwhelming. And unfortunately, we are unable to answer each one of them. However, here I have a last question to ask to Bhante Dhammadipa. Is a question. The question is, we often heard people saying that you learn samatha meditation. Does it mean we don't get the vipassana at all? Yeah, so this is the first question. And the second question is, can a person attain sainthood without concentration? Thank you.
Well, I have explained that one who is a saint, same in the Theravada tradition, same in the Northern tradition. One who is a saint, he has natural samadhi. If we are not a saint, we don't have a natural samadhi. We have to struggle for samadhi. This is a difference. So when we study the Theravada path, this natural samadhi is kind of established in the state of Sotapanna. It is deepened in the state of Sakadagami. It is very much deepened in the state of Anagami, and it is perfected in the state of an Arahat. An Arahat has a continuous natural samadhi. Okay. He cannot lose his samadhi, otherwise he would give rise to the defilements, kleshas, troubles. An Arahat has no trouble, no mental trouble. Now, the first question, what was the first question again?
Now, the second question is, can a person attain sainthood without concentration?
It is, of course, impossible. But now there is a lot of misunderstanding. I will tell one story. When I was a student in Pauk Monastery, my benefactor took me to Yangon to visit the Mahasi Center. And when I visited the Mahasi Center, then he introduced me as a student of Pauk and the one who has been teaching in the Pauk Monastery. And the monk there, he said, it's very nice you have learned shamatha. Now it's good if you learn some vipassana. So this is a great misunderstanding actually about the shamatha. In the Pali tradition, shamatha is of course very important, but it should not be disconnected from the training in wisdom.
Okay, so thank you very much.
If it is disconnected from the training in wisdom, then it is not a real appeasement. So appeasement actually in the Theravada tradition has 3 stages. First is appeasement through sila, which is called the tat anga pahana. Second is the appeasement through concentration, which shakes away all the defilements, but only temporarily. But the appeasement through wisdom is a definite. And this definite appeasement through wisdom is the end of the path. But it cannot do away without the appeasement from sila and appeasement from samadhi. That would be maybe the best explanation.
Yes, so thank you very much, Bante. And we have come to the end of the presentation. Of course, I'm very sorry because we are unable to answer each and every question from our chat group here. Anyway, thanks to all our presenters and discussants for enlightening us the teachings of Buddha's wisdoms and compassion. And both traditions agree.
General, can I interrupt you a quick one? We have
Okay,
a
yes.
final question for Rinpoche actually.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, before we, Venerable Mingyu Rinpoche, in your synopsis, you wrote that in Vipassana, we explore the nature of reality, the coming and going of phenomena. To understand, they are interdependent. These processes in different stages. At first, we see the truth of no self, and eventually, we realize sunyata, or emptiness. Can you elaborate a little bit on emptiness, please?
Yes. So first we practice the breathing meditation. So knowing breath as it is. So that is the beginning of wisdom. Although just breathing meditation is shamatha, but knowing as it is, not controlling, not try to rejecting, accepting as it is the beginning of the vipassana. It is the wisdom. Then we change the focus, not focusing on the breath, but focus on the body and the feeling and the thought and all phenomena. And what we see is all these are changing, impermanent, interdependent, a multiplicity. So many pieces are there. And these are interdependent, connect each other. And these are changing and changing and changing. In the end, we cannot grab the phenomena. So permanent, independent, singularity, which is a wrong view. So that is not there. In the end, we go beyond ignorance, aversion, attachment. So just awareness, mind go beyond concept, beyond grasping. So in that moment, we recognize emptiness. But emptiness is not nothing. So when we recognize emptiness, it doesn't mean your mind become blank, not nothing. Actually, the simple example is like dream. So in the dream, we can say pizza. We can see so many things. But if we don't know we are dreaming, then we have to follow the dream rules. So a lot of mula, dosa, aversion, attachment, and ignorance, we are trapped in the dream rules and laws. So cause of suffering. But if we recognize we are dreaming, dream no need to disappear. So what disappear? The ignorance, aversion, attachment will disappear. And you don't need to bound by dream law. You are free in the dream. You can walk in the fire, cannot burn you. You can walk on the ocean, cannot sink. And at the same time, you are free from the mental, the three poison, the cause of suffering and the suffering itself. So that is what we call liberation. But the three poison is eliminated, but at the same time, they are transformed actually. So ignorance transformed into wisdom, and the craving transformed into detachment, and the hatred transformed into love and compassion. So that's a transformation, and that is the achieve the full nirvana in the end.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche. Okay, back to you, Venerable Chairman. Please unmute yourself.
Okay. So I think we should now close this Q&A question. And okay, now you see in the Mahaparinibbana Suttas, the Buddha says, Dhamma and Vinaya has been taught by me, expounded by me. They are your teachers when I am gone. You see, so now come back to our Dhamma practice. And since that everyone's are talking about the Dhamma practice, so I hope, some days very soon, we will get together somewhere for a meditation retreat to learn from each other's traditions, to practice of samatha, vipassana, and shunyata, and for a peaceful, harmonious coexistence of all the Buddhist tradition. And we are very grateful to His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, for initiating this conference, gathering monastics and laity from both traditions under the same platform of sharing and learning from each other to strengthen our mutual understanding and conviction to the triple gems for the prosperity of the Sangha and Buddhism. So this international conference is not the first nor the last of its kind, and a meeting of great teachers, scholars, practitioners, when continue meeting in this style of individual, of this type of international Dhamma Vinaya platform for sharing wisdoms and compassion of the Buddhas for the prosperity of the Sangha and Buddhism. So let us join palm together and thank the presenters, discussant, and of course all audience online, and rejoice by saying 3 times in Pali word, sadhu, 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 meaning we are very grateful and indeed very happy and wonderful with the gathering of all the Kalyana Mittras for Dhamma Vinaya study platform. So thank you very much.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So Brother Tan.
For the session on Panya.
Okay, so
thank you very much. We'll see you again this afternoon. We'll see you again at 3:30 for the session on Panya.
Okay, so see you all this afternoon. We come back at 1 o'clock, isn't it?
Indian time.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, everyone.
yeah.
Thank you all variables. So as you can see on the slide, we will all come back next session starting at India time, 1 p.m. So there is no need to log off from this Zoom room. You can remain on to proceed for your break. And if you happen to log off, you can take a picture of this screen with the meeting ID and the passcode. And we will see you in the next session at 1 p.m. All right.